There's a lot of controversy out here right now. So everyone was waiting for Astros players to apologize. Teams are involved, players are involved. I mean, players are saying you robbed me of the MVP, you robbed us of the World Series. I mean, they're just trashing the Astros. They cheated. I get it. I'd be mad too. And so they issue an apology, and it seemed kind of fake. It did. I watched it. I was like, this is staged. This is rehearsed. This doesn't seem right. And the MLB has decided they're not going to discipline players because they were very cooperative during the investigation. And that has really made people upset. And now Dusty Baker is fearing that teams and players and fans are going to harm the Houston Astros. And actually, they are kind of fearful of their safety. And I agree with Baker on this. I agree everything what the MLB has done. Everything. They fired the management, all the management that was involved, coaches, GMs, and whatnot. They're fired. They're gone. I agree with that. You get rid of the people that came up with this idea and implemented it. You get rid of them. And that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say you worked for a company, right? And you found out through the grapevine, and you're not supposed to tell anyone, like, hey, don't write this in an email, but we're actually going to do something a little bit illegal. We're not really supposed to be doing it. And you're just an employee. What are you going to do? Let it go? So yeah, if that's what you decide, you're the boss, you're the management. If this is what you want, I'm not going to say no because it's not my fault if you get caught, right? That's how I would think. If upper management makes a decision that's not quite ethical or not quite legal because they're most interested in the money or the wins in baseball. But as an employee, what am I going to do? Risk my career? Call them out? Risk my relationship with the company? I didn't make the choice. They did. I listened to them. Now, if they get caught, you know who gets punished in an organization when they get caught? The big dogs, the CEO, the VPs. They're the ones that get let go. They're the ones that get fired, not the employees. Because the employees have no power. Yes, they could have whistleblowed. Yes, they could have said something. Yes, they could have spoken up and said, hey, we're doing something wrong. But you know how risky that is for that employee? They put their career at risk. They put their family at risk. They put themselves at risk. They have no power in that company to say no to this. The only power that they have is to tattle on the company. And that's a risky situation. You can't punish people for not speaking up. You punish people who decided to impose the illegal action in the first place. And that's exactly what the MLB did. And they utilized the players to say, hey, the upper management is gone. I need to know the truth. Who started this? How was it implemented? Same thing in like when we're in school, right? It's like sometimes it's like we play a prank on someone and someone's like, hey, come help us. Hey, come help us. Not your idea. And you're kind of like, I don't know if I really want to do this. But you're peer pressured into it. And you know you can't call them out because if you do, they're going to bully you. They're going to beat you up. So you just go along with it. Then you get caught. You get in trouble. Do you literally suspend everyone that was a part of it? No. You just suspend the people that led the charge, that came up with the idea. Most of the people, they're just along for the ride and they felt pressured. Same thing with the work analogy. It's like, if I'm just an employee, what am I supposed to do? Tell them this is wrong. I'm not doing it. Okay, you're fired. Now I don't have a job. And my wife works at home. And none of us have a job. And we have 2 kids at home. What are you supposed to do? I know these players, that's just an analogy. I know some of these players are quite wealthy and rich, but they risk their careers. They risk everything because they call out their team. Guess what? Other teams cheat too. Maybe not as obvious. Maybe Houston Astros crossed the line a little bit more than they should have. But other teams cheat too. And if they're like, oh my gosh, if this player called out them for cheating, we don't want to sign them because we kind of cheat a little bit over here. We don't really follow the rules over here. We just haven't been caught yet. If we sign him, what if he calls us out for that? You see what I mean? Unfortunately, every big organization, they cheat just a little bit. And if they know you're going to call them out, you may not find a job. So I'm not trying to say it's right. I'm not claiming like, oh, they did the right thing for not saying anything about it. That's not what I'm trying to say. They should have. But there's a lot of risk. But they should not be punished for not speaking up. Because they were in a very, very difficult situation. And this was not their decision. They just complied to it because of the risks involved if they didn't comply to it. You get rid of the people that had the power to say no to this and not risk their career for it. And that is the management. That is the general manager. That's the people up on top, not the players. They're at the bottom of the totem pole. So this is what I feel about this situation. And now Dusty Baker is responsible for a team that is going to be at risk each and every game. This is not Jose Altuve's fault. Unless it's clear in the investigation that he came up with this idea and he forced everyone to do it. It's not his fault. And it wasn't. He didn't generate it. It came up from above. And they implemented it into the system. One or two guys had the idea. They're gone now. They implemented it. A lot of players, and you saw a lot of the apologies. I remember Justin Verlander said, I just wish I said something. I wish I could just do something. And that's probably how they all feel. But they knew at the time, it's like, you can't really do anything because there's a lot at risk if I do. And if we get caught, it's not going to be my fault because it's not my idea. I felt like I just had to comply to it because I have no power in the organization. But like I said, I'm not justifying their actions for not saying anything. They should have. But do they deserve to be punished? Absolutely not. The right people got punished. Let the players play. This was not their idea. There's a thing called peer pressure. There's a thing called risks. They were put in a tough spot. They were. I don't want to be in a situation where the vice president in my organization I work for tells me to hide something. I'm not in that situation, but I'm just saying if I were, it's like, what do you do? I'd be scared to death to do anything besides comply. I would hope I would be able to speak up and have that courage and take on the risk that involved in that. But being a young guy, young in his career, that's a lot of risky stuff to take on. A lot of these players are young. It's hard to stand up to management. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And they don't deserve to be punished for failing to do that. So I really, really hope that the MLB can understand this and that they can just, like the Miles situation, just move on. Punishments were made. Consequences are being handed out. It's over. It's done. Move on. It's a sad, sad situation. We're not acknowledging it. We're not promoting it. The MLB clearly has showed that this is not acceptable. They fired the right people. They got rid of them. They're not in the sport. Move on. Don't hate the players. They were put in a tough, tough situation. They don't deserve to be punished for failing to speak up because I guarantee you and I have failed to speak up when we should have in multiple situations. And we didn't get punished for it. But we know we probably should have still spoken up for it. So I think we need to be a little bit easier on the players. I think we need to try to understand it from their standpoint. This wasn't their idea. And that's probably why the apologies seem rehearsed. Because it's like, why should I feel sorry for this if it wasn't even my idea? The apologies that I heard that seemed more genuine were when they said, I just wish I would have said something sooner. I remember Justin Verlander saying that. And that seemed much more genuine, more than Jose Altuve apologizing on behalf of the Houston Astros for doing the sign stealing, because it wasn't even his idea. Why would I apologize on behalf of the people that have been fired and not part of the organization anymore? Yeah, he complied to it. Yeah, he should have spoken up. But he shouldn't have to apologize on their behalf. And that's why it seemed rehearsed. So I just hope the MLB just and all the teams and all the players can move on from this and not. The players are asking their fans to boo the Astros when they visit, and I don't want that to happen. It's so bad for the sport, and it's just going to ruin their lives and their careers, and it's going to put their safety at risk. So I hope that the teams and the players can treat the Astros with respect throughout this coming season.